Good afternoon, beautiful viewers. My name is Mercy Ebute, and it's always a delight to welcome you to Peace Talk with Mercy, your number one peace building talk show. So, how are you doing this beautiful Monday afternoon? Hope you are staying safe out there. Thank you guys for joining. I look forward to having all my Facebook followers and viewers who have been engaging with Peace Talk with Mercy. I look forward to having you on this very important discussion. We'll be looking at the Nigerian Police Act, which was recently signed by our President Mohammed Buhari, and my guest here, Barbara Maigari, is here to help us look into this law and ensure that it addresses the reformation that Nigerians are calling for in the Nigerian police force. But before I go there, I must address, and thank you so much. Hello, Oma. Thank you so much for always, coming to view Peace Talk with Mercy, for always engaging with us during our talk show. Thank you so much, Oma Ebulu. Before we truly go into the topic of today, I would like to say the events of past weeks have been very traumatic for Nigerians, by activities of hoodlums and thugs who hijacked a peaceful protest by our young ones. And of course, the unfortunate incidents that happened at the Lekki toll gate, where peaceful protestants, peaceful and young Nigerians were shot at the gate. Some people lost their lives, a lot of people were injured, and the whole experience has been very traumatic. I have been traumatized. Though I was not at the location of the incident, I have been traumatized. How much more those who were at the location where these things happened? I truly feel for all the families, who lost a loved one as a result of the massacre and as a result of various activities of thugs and hoodlums in our country. It is truly an unfortunate incident. I share the pain of those families, and I share the pain of every Nigerian. Truly, our voices, count for a better country, and we will see the Nigeria that we are fighting for and dreaming for. And then these bloods that have been shed for the cause of better Nigeria will truly speak at the end of the day. Thank you guys for joining, and I appreciate. Please thumbs up, let me know that you're here, and let me also hear your contribution and opinion about reformation of our police force. My guest is here. I will read her profile a bit, introduce the topic, and then go right into our discussion. I guess Barbara Maigari. She is a Justice Initiative Fellow. She's a Call D, I hope I got that right, Call D Fellow, and the Senior Program at Partners West Africa, Nigeria. She is vastly experienced in human rights advocacy, legal research, and litigation. She is experienced in law practice, capacity building, and programming on human rights, security sector reforms, and gender promotion, both locally and internationally. Barbara has an LLM degree in human rights, international justice specialization. Whoa, that is a huge profile, Barbara. Good to have you on Peace Talk with Mercy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for honoring this invitation. Thank you, everyone. Just for the profile of my guest, and she's really sound and vast in our topic today, which is the law, the Police Force Act that was recently signed by our President Mohammed Buhari. We are hoping, and truly, I look forward to a highly educative and informative discussion with my guest, Barbara.
Thank you.
Okay, so Barbara, how are you doing?
So far, so good.
Okay.
Importantly is that one is alive, and we
Yeah.
thank God for that. With all the experiences one has seen, a lot of us haven't faced this, apart from where we had the subsidy protest. I think this is one of the second protests.
And the subsidy protest was not really, didn't go violent. No lives were not lost, properties were not, it was relatively peaceful. But unfortunately, what we encountered this time around was really traumatic.
Yes, it's turned into something else, and it's so sad that hoodlums, as we say, or people who are trying to hijack the whole process are doing that. But we hope that at the end of the day to bring in the desired reforms, not only in the police force, but in Nigeria as a whole.
Thank you. That is what we all are praying for. So, addressing our topic of discussion, which is kind of linked to the protest, anyways, because it's about reforming our police, sector, and then the activities of the SARS, of Special Anti-Robbery Squad, how they've gone about killing, how they've gone about extorting from young people and Nigeria as a whole. Do you think that we're going to go into the details of the law, but do you think that the present law that have been signed by Buhari will address those issues?
I think so. I first want to say that the process of the law, it's not just that it happened in 2020. It started a long time ago, decades of advocacy for the law to be passed. We're happy that it's finally been passed. And my thinking is, having looked at the law, I believe that it will address some of the issues, major issues that citizens are asking for reforming the Nigerian police. So long as implementation is done.
So
if
long
we
as
just have the
implementation is
law
done, because
on the papers,
yeah.
it will just be the law on the papers and that's all.
Wow. We really need to ensure that implementation is done, and that is what the whole NSAS advocacy and Sorosoke is all about. As if Nigerians will not keep quiet about our issues or the right policies, definitely our leaders will get to act on them. So we understand that this law was signed by our president on the 26th of September 2020. Then my issue now is that how was the engagement that brought about, or the process that brought about the law being? How was it? Was it robust enough? Did it engage enough Nigerians? Because if this kind of law was in place, why are Nigerians still protesting, lack of reformation in the police force and all of that? So do you think engagement was good enough before the law was signed into, before the bill was signed into law?
So the first thing I would say is, it's not possible for 200 million of us to gather in one space to be discussing about one law or any law, you understand? So that's why we have representatives. The process of passing the law, like I said, started a long time ago. If I am correct, I think we had about 8 to 9 bills, different bills, that ended up being harmonized into bringing this law into an act. And so you had different engagement done at different levels. You had civil society engagement being done. You had police engagement being done. And then, of course, the bill had to come through different processes. It ended up being a sponsored bill by the National Assembly, and then it got to be passed. Sometimes it's also not easy to engage, like I said, getting 200 people. So you might have to have engagement at state level. I'm aware that the stakeholders that pushed for the adoption of the law tried as much as possible to engage with people. There were public hearings, definitely, that were done. Normally, before a bill is passed, whether at the House of Assembly, state level, or National Assembly, it has to go through certain processes, first, second, and third reading. Between those processes, you have the public engagement where people have to make their views. And so in those kind of public engagement is where you have citizens come and participate. The police will definitely bring in their own views about where do we think the reform needs to come in. However, answering a bit the second bit of your question about, okay, the law is in existence. Like we said, it just came in September. We're in October. So, and this is, we've been operating with a 71-year-old law, 1949.
Older than the country itself.
Yes, older than Nigeria itself. It was handed over by the British colonialists. So we now finally have a law that encompasses the 1999 Constitution, but also encompasses or takes into consideration other reformative laws such as the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, which maybe later I'll talk about. So the law is new. September, we're in October. October is just about to end. Citizens are not even fully aware that, yes, the law has come to be. So the most important thing that has to take place now is awareness and enforcement of the law and implementation. The fact that you have a law written in papers, what does it mean? Who has the responsibility to enforce it? Do I, as a citizen, have a right to enforce these laws? Can I apply the law as a citizen to say, oh, my rights are being searched? What does it entail? So we need to engage with the law. The law is available, is online. If you just type Nigerian Police Act 2020, you would get it there. It's online. Some organizations have made it easy for people to get a copy. You would even see the signed copy by the President and the National Assembly online. So it's very accessible.
I saw something like that. I was able to download, even though it's about 149, sections,
yes,
and hundreds of pages. So it's like, can I really get to read the details of this law? But I thank God for people like you, citizens like you, who are aware, who have followed this law and can break it down for all Nigerians to understand. So thank you so much. So I'm going to just read a bit from the law and what it addresses. The law repeals the Police Act, cap of P19 laws of the Federation to 2004, and provides for a more effective and well-organized police force, driven by the principles of transparency and accountability in its operations and management of its resources. One of the demands that Nigerians are making is for the police to be better funded. And now they are saying that the law addresses, resource management in the police force and all of that. So what kind of problems have we had when it comes to funding of the police force, and how is the law going to correct that?
For a long time, I think that's one organization in Nigeria that has, there are still issues about whether it has adequately been funded or whether it has not adequately been funded. So why do I say so? Sometimes you hear budgets, the national budget, tell you that a certain percentage, for a period of time now, security has taken 1/4 of our national budget, shared across different agencies, and the police is one of the security agencies. Now, the next question you ask, if the police gets a certain percentage of that 1/4, what then happens with the funds? Does it go down to where it's supposed to go down to? Meaning, does it get to the division? Does it get to the police post? Because the division is what you have at the different local government levels. But do you also get it to the police post? Now, the funds have been a problem. I am one of those that believes that there are two issues, meaning there has been a gap with allocation, adequate allocation, but there has also been a gap with mismanagement. In my own understanding. Because you find police officers on the streets and demands are made, and there are allegations that these demands that are made from citizens are collated and taken to the higher hierarchy. What does that mean? Some of them even tell you as basic as, it is what we get on the streets from the citizens that we actually force out from, that we take it back to the division and have to run. So if something happens to you by that area, you expect that the police must come in with their bullion vans or whatever, patrol, with guns, well equipped, jacketed properly. But a lot of times they tell you that's the problem. Apart from that one, which might be information from other people, a lot of us have experienced where you get to the police station and basic things like foolscap sheets and biros are requested from you, either as the complainant or the person who is being accused in some very rare cases, or a relative of the person who is being detained. So basic things like stationaries are also not available. You have instances where you get to the police station, you request for a vehicle or someone to come in and curb a particular crime. The next thing you're told, either there is no fuel for the car or there is even no car at all to undertake that trip to curb the crime that is currently ongoing. So what is actually happening is two sides: inadequate funding, but also issues of mismanagement. And that is why you see that the preamble of the law itself, the explanatory note, tells you that the purpose is to ensure accountability and transparency. For years and years and years, we always see the budgets of all agencies in our national budgets. At the end of the day, how much is spent throughout the year? We don't see it. Who gives us account? There might be some account that goes in to the relevant agencies. For instance, the police, maybe the Police Affairs, Ministry of Police Affairs might receive some accounting records
Police
from
Service
them.
Commission?
No, not the commission. The commission takes care of recruitments and discipline.
Okay.
But the Ministry of Police Affairs handles issues of budgets. So you would find that maybe records will go to them. But as citizens, we need to understand, okay, you allocated 1 million naira to police station A. Police station A, 1 million naira is for you to use for 1 year. Did you use 1 million naira? If you did not use, what happened to the money? What did you use it for? Because at the end of the day, the purpose, even from the law itself, is to ensure public safety, to protect the rights of citizens, and to keep us safe at the end of the day. So if you tell me you don't have resources to address these problems, then there's something going on, and we need to really interrogate. So I think that's where the law comes in. And that's why you have the beginning of the law tells you that the purpose of the act is to do this and that to ensure transparency and accountability of the Nigerian police force and ensure that the rights of citizens are protected.
The old law does not cover accountability and transparency issue, or we are still dealing with implementation problem?
No, the previous law, like I said, is a colonial law. It's an old law. A lot of our human rights issues came in after the World War. So you had the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, which came in after the 1948. That was when that came in. After that, we now have the other instruments on human rights, 1966 and downwards, and then our constitution, the current constitution, is 1999. So you don't expect a law that predated all these other ones to be accountable for that. A lot of times that the laws that we received, English laws as we call them, were laws that were made somehow to oppress citizens. So sometimes if you look at even the laws, you would wonder, there are provisions in the previous law, which we're happy to see now are being repealed, that requested that female officers must request from the IG permission before they get married. You don't have similar provisions like that for men. So these are some of the issues that have been requested for a long time. Why do I have to be a female? Why do I have to request for permission from the IG?
The male counterpart
don't do the same thing. So some of these things were done to discriminate certain people, maybe the female gender or what have you. But the acknowledging some of these human rights issues, acknowledging rule of law issues, and importantly, acknowledging due process. The law is trying to acknowledge due process, that if you spend, you are allocated a certain amount, you must account for it, you must document, and you must ensure that the resources allocated to the police force is properly used.
Wow, thank you so much. That is really good to know that we are going to have a more accountable and transparent, police force. But of course, Nigerians are concerned with implementation, but at least the law is there. It's good that we know that the law is there, and we'll be able to hold them, to ensuring that this thing is put to use. Thank you so much. I know that one of the things that is being protested against is police brutality. And we are talking about the mental state of our officers, because I don't think an officer in their right state would go to, carry out that kind of thing on innocent citizens. Are they going to, does the law address psychological check for our officers, those already, in the force, and those who will be recruited down the road? What's the recruitment process, and what kind of psychological check is put in place to ensure that brutality coming from our security officers is completely dealt with?
I think one thing that the law has tried to address in one of the sections, which I can refer to later, is the issue of the approach when you're searching people on the streets. It requires that before you search the person, you talk to them and say, this is the reason why I'm searching you. Even before you search, the person needs to know, where is your name, what is your name, you must have an ID card, a genuine ID card. When I read it, it said a legal ID. I'm wondering whether a citizen is able to determine whether that is legal or not, but that's not the issue at the moment. At least have something. And it requires that you should be dressed in the police uniform. If you're not dressed in the police uniform, at least have an ID card. Now, it also requires that you do not embarrass the person just because you're searching them. It requires that if you want to search the person, it should just be superficial, meaning outside your body. Not that if you want to search someone, you have to strip the person naked on the streets. Come on, that's you're invading into the person's privacy. And if you need to search the person, you can take the person into a space that is convenient, and then the person must be searched. If it's male, by the same male, the same gender, or female by female also. So there are requirements that the law is trying to address based on practices that we have suffered for the past 71 years. You understand? It also brings in the administration of criminal justice provisions, one of which is arrest. What should you tell me when you're about to arrest me? You should tell me that, oh, Barbara, this is the reason for your arrest. We're suspecting that you have committed this particular crime, and that is the reason why the police is arresting you. You tell me at the point of arrest. If you didn't see me committing the crime at that moment. Do not tell me when we get to the police station you will let me know, because you're already violating that right, and then you're violating the police act itself. Initially, the fear of advocates had always been, when will we get a police act, right, that encompasses this kind of provisions? Because when you engage with police, especially those at the lower level, they love their police act. The police is one agency that I've engaged with that protects their institution. They protect the institution. I just know they protect the institution based on the engagement I've had with them. They rely on the police act. And so it is apt that we now have this act that encompasses that. So the next step will be this psychological and retraining. It's a total overhaul. It is no more the police act of the past. The current police act also addresses issues like I talked about on gender, meaning you should not discriminate on the female gender because the male had never been discriminated in. You shouldn't discriminate. We would need to see what is going on in the police training schools. The police act needs to be taken in piecemeal now and disseminated. And we expect that the Nigerian police should do that, because I am aware that that is what they use mostly in the training schools. So now that we have a reviewed law, let us see how implementation will go. Recruitment process is done by the Police Service Commission.
Okay.
And whether through psychological testing, I think the last one that they did, we could see a lot of the things that they were talking about, different cadres of people that were being recruited. That is where you would have to apply the psychological testing. I'm one of those that also feels that the psychological testing does not just take place at the time of recruitment. It should be periodic as time goes on. You engage with criminal acts. You are a human being. You face all kinds of things. Sometimes maybe you come back to your family. You might be wondering, are you okay? You understand? So even they themselves, the police officers are also citizens and Nigerians, if you get what I'm saying. So there is need for some kind of psychological checks periodically. It doesn't have to be every time that you face that, but it should be systematic so that they will check on you and understand what is going on. At least it helps them to also say, okay, there's something wrong. Okay, you are fit for purpose, you can continue. If you're not fit for purpose, you step aside, and then others that are fit can continue, to enforce law and order in the country while protecting the rights of citizens.
Thank you so much, Barbara. You've talked so much on accountability and transparency issues in the police force, and also recruiting and then retraining and retraining. It should be like a periodic. It shouldn't be one-off. They train you, do psychological check, you come in, and then things happen, changes happen, and so we need to keep tab, of the police officer the time. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to all my viewers. I've seen a lot of people come in and go out. Thank you so much. I would like to hear your contribution. Afi Basi is saying hi to you. Hello, Barbara. Thank you so much, Afi. I know BBC Media Action have also been the front on following up this, bill and all of that. So thank you for all you are doing, Afi. Thank you, Ademola Rasaki. I've seen a lot of names that have skipped my mind that joined this discussion. Thank you, everyone. Nice joining up. Thank you, Sam Sitefa. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mercy, and our guests, in the house. Thank you so much. So, guys, we've talked about recruitment for police force. These things are addressed in the law, and we talked about how they need to be transparent and accountable to the public. I'm going to read a section of the law, and then we'll address that part of the law. And it's a section 66 of the Act, talking about powers to prosecute. You already talked about it. It says it provides prosecutorial powers to non-qualified legal practitioners, has been generating reactions within the legal community. Subsection 1 of the section states that, subject to the provisions of sections 174 and 211 of the Constitution and sections 106 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, which relates to the powers of the Attorney General of the Federation and of a state to institute, take over, and continue to discontinue criminal proceedings against any person before any court of law in Nigeria. A police officer who is a legal practitioner may prosecute in person before any court, whether or not the information or complaint is laid in his name. Can you explain? This is a lot of legal drama, and I'm wondering what does it mean? Like you touched on it already, saying that the police should tell you why they are arresting you, but then we are talking about prosecution. So what does that really, this section mean?
Yes, prior to the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, we have always had police investigating and prosecuting. So investigation is to find out what you have done,
Okay.
and prosecuting is to file a charge against you in court so that the case can be taken in court.
Okay.
I'm just saying it in the layman's language because
Better,
it's a lot
because
of
that's
legal
what we
terms. So once the police does that, it can prosecute because there's an agreement between the Attorney General and the Nigerian Police Force for them to prosecute, especially for the purpose of that we
Does
don't
the
have.
police have to be a lawyer?
So let me get there. I'm saying prior to this law now,
Okay,
that was the arrangement.
Okay.
Now the idea was because we don't have enough officers in the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice is the office of the Attorney General. Officers within that ministry are not so many that can take up all the cases, and so the Attorney General gives his powers of prosecution to other agencies. So you have the different agencies that have these powers. You have the EFCC has the powers, ICPC, so they are able to prosecute. But in the Constitution, so what the person is saying is that the Constitution recognizes only the Attorney General to prosecute. But because of manpower, and I'm saying it in lay terms so that people understand, the AG has been able to delegate his powers, so give another agency to do that work. So some of the agencies can be the ICPC, the EFCC, and then the police itself. Now, because of some of the challenges that we have seen for years on criminal procedure across the country, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, which is younger than our Constitution, was passed in 2015 by the previous government. The law says that if police officers are going to prosecute, they have to be lawyers. So I can tell you that officers in the EFCC and ICPC that prosecute are lawyers.
Okay.
Ministry of Justice prosecutors are lawyers. It's only the police that has people that are not lawyers that are prosecuting. Now, the Nigerian system has seen a lot of irregularities with having non-lawyers prosecuting. And that is why that section has come in with the fact that you need to have, even if they are police officers, they have to be lawyers who have been called to the bar to practice. Meaning the Nigerian police force will need to recruit lawyers to come into the system. Currently, we have seen across some states have rejected that provision of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act because of the issue of manpower. So if you have to tell the Nigerian police force, oh wait, you have maybe like 30 of you as police officers in the state, for instance, I'm just giving an instance, and 10 of you are prosecutors, and maybe the Ministry of Justice only has 5. It means that the manpower of the police is even more than the manpower in the Ministry of Justice. If you're not telling them that out of that 10, 8 are not lawyers, the 8 should just sit and wait until we get lawyers, the cases will lag down. They will have a backlog of cases, and then the same citizens will say, oh, the case is taking too long, adjournments. So some states are having a problem with that issue. Okay. So the thing to address it right now is to ensure that we swiftly begin to recruit lawyers within the police, and it means therefore that the lawyers have to be situated in the 36 states plus the Federal Capital Territory to be able to take up the cases. It therefore means that you need to have more than one lawyer in each state. Sometimes if you go to some states, they will tell you it's only one lawyer who is the head of legal within a particular...
But in some instance, they can work with other lawyers as consultants or something.
Yes, the Police Act has now allowed that you can even have, even the Administration of Criminal Justice Act allows that you can have private prosecutors. Okay. The Police Act has even gone as far as even saying that you can even have private investigators. Wow. You understand? So the police can even register people who are interested in investigating privately. And then the ACJA, which is the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, allows that you can also prosecute through a private person, just so that we can decongest our cases before the courts. Because if we keep on saying we would only use the number of officers from Ministry of Justice across the country or police officers, we will definitely have backlog of cases across the country.
Oh, God, that is so extensive. That is so, I don't want to say legalistic also.
I've tried to make it easy.
Yeah, but at least to simplify it, for me, is the fact that the police, can prosecute, but they have to be
Yes,
a
they
lawyer.
have to be lawyers.
Yes, and they can work with, private lawyers and private investigators,
Yes.
those kind of things. This is a whole lot, guys. We have to keep, bringing it out bit by bit and educating people more on this. I don't know if you don't mind, you can just be on this show, kind of, maybe not on video, but provide some little information that can be shining out on a daily basis, just to educate people, because it's truly important. People need to know how to engage with officers. Thank you so much. Ademola Rasaki, is it possible to reform the Nigerian police without reforming the entire Nigerian system? Corruption, they say, is systematic, as in it's everywhere. It's not just in the police force. So Rasaki is asking that, how is it possible to reform the police sector and, Nigeria is still the way it is?
I don't think it's possible, to be candid.
Don't think it's possible?
I don't think so, because the police is a subset of Nigeria. Nigerian police officers are taken from across the country.
Yeah.
Even what we're facing as, like a hijack of the protest, is Nigerian citizens are not even police officers, remember?
Yeah,
what are they doing? Doing criminalities, right? Which a lot of us are saying
even
no
it was
to.
alleged that they got some,
No, we're not talking about whether they got information from somewhere.
Okay,
But I'm talking
some
about
support.
the act itself.
Okay.
Whether we want to justify that people are hungry and that's why they're doing this, quote and unquote, what did they say? Palliative looting. It's still a crime, right? It's a wrong thing to do. The sad part of it is even the looting that is taking place in private businesses. That is still criminality. And that's Nigerians and
it's
not
carried out
necessary.
by
Nigerian
so
citizens.
So the systematic thing.
So it's an issue. So it needs to be done holistically. And for me, I think reforming the country has nothing to do with whether you are the president or you are just someone that is helping us to set up something here. It has to be within you as an individual. We have to take the conscious effort as individuals. Reorientate yourself. What should I do when I see something happening? Someone is dropping dirt here. Should I tell the person, pack this dirt? Do you understand? Should I loot just because I've seen a space is open and somebody's store is open? It has to do with us as individuals. And then we can begin to say, okay, police force or any security agency or any government agency, you are not behaving in normal Nigeria.
Yeah, I know all Nigerians have to be accountable, responsible in some way. But the police is a law enforcement agency, so they should also take the lead in reforming.
I agree.
And ensuring that the citizens act appropriately.
Yes.
So I think information can really start with our police force. It will go a long way.
Yes.
If they know better, they can enforce certain laws,
Yes.
and ensure that citizens act well.
So what I'm saying is that it needs to be done holistically so that it's not as if it's in isolation, right? Of course, a lot more is expected since they are law enforcement agencies. But if it's an opportunity for us to reform the country as a whole, why not?
Why not? Yeah. Why not? But then, of course, we're going to have to start somewhere anyway.
Yes,
so
definitely.
This will herald many other reformations. Yes. So thank you so much, guys. Maurice Bello Maigari, did you know the person? Because shares your surname. The administration of criminal justice really needs to be adopted by all states, particularly the requirement of the prosecutors being lawyers. The police should make deliberate efforts to recruit lawyers. I agree.
Yes.
And you've extensively discussed that already. Thank you for asking that question or making that contribution, the need to recruit lawyers. Okay, so we are going to go off the law, not like off literally, but at least off addressing the sectors and talk about SARS, the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad, and the canvas or the campaign
tactical team now.
Or tactical team, we actually have a tactical team.
We don't even know what they are called. So.
Yes. So do you think SWAT is a replacement for SARS? Do you think the officers will be different? Do you think, the whole rush in bringing SARS to be, does not even go well with citizens? We are thinking, why the rush? We are saying reform this sector. We are saying we don't want this set of your officers again because of what they have done. And then the next day you wake up and say it's now SWAT. What do you think? Is there any provision in the law, that will address that kind of thing? And would there be a lapse when those kind of anti-robbery squad, is not in existence in the police force? And if they are going to take their time to retrain, to recruit, do psychological check and all of that, who will be addressing those criminal acts? Who needs to go out and fight, the criminal issues we are having now? So how do we ensure that that gap is closed while they are trying to reform SARS or SWAT, or SARS does no longer exist, but the SWAT thing?
I think that so SWAT, SARS. I think in the course of all this, the protests, one of the former IGPs that actually brought in the idea of setting up SARS was lamenting that the intention was not to create this kind of brutality that goes on in the country. I think the intention was to try and see how you can specialize in addressing issues of armed robbery. We need to move away from manual approach of engagement. The countries that we all aspire to either go to or visit or always reference have moved away from analog approach. And I'm not justifying what goes on, but one has worked with the police force different times. You train them, and have been privileged to even train members of the SARS. There are opportunities you hear them lament. They paint a scenario for you that is so bleak that you begin to, if you're not careful, you just tilt and say, okay, you can excuse. But there's no time that torture or brutality can ever be excused.
No.
And a lot of times their complaint is, I painted a scenario for you. If we move further from just petrol to move a van to the nearest station, to the nearest crime scene, go further than that. Do they have forensic equipment to detect that crime has taken place? There was a time we are aware in this country that if you want to check your police record, your data about criminality, everything has to go to Lagos. The whole of the country, almost 200 million. If you want to check, there are some things that you want to do and you need to present police reports. Your report will tell you it will take this number of days or weeks. It has to go to Lagos. Meaning that we don't even have the equipment in every state.
No, we don't.
That's one issue, right? Then issues of how do you do crime scene investigation? What happens there? How am I able to trace? Do we have database of Nigerians? I've always asked, when you're checking somebody's police crime history, are you checking whether the person's name has ever been there, or are you checking whether the person has ever committed a crime? Do you even have a database of Nigerians to be able to say, bam, this person has not committed even a minor offense? We don't have that. So the Police Act and the Administration of Criminal Justice Act have created what you call the Central Criminal Registry. Basic English, just a central place where we have all the crimes that have been committed, a database of crimes and the suspects and what have you, maybe possibly the survivors and victims of the crime. If we don't do that, we're not even able to document and say this and this is what has happened, and then to be able to trace the people. So I think one of the challenges that has happened is across the country, you have a lot of this brutality going on. First, because of the negligence of providing basic equipment. Secondly, another issue is also issues of accountability. Oh, I committed this atrocity is against the Police Act as a police officer. Am I being held accountable? Yeah. Then it moves from 300,000 police officers are not held accountable, and then it becomes impunity. It becomes it's a practice in the Nigerian society, and then I can do it today to A, B, C, and I know nothing would happen. And then you hear Nigerians say, if you enter SARS and come out, you have to come and do Thanksgiving. Meaning it's not a place that normally you should come in and go out, because that is what they do there. Some of the videos we have seen, of course, social media videos have shown some of those brutalities. People have also advocated, because of the peculiarity of that unit, if it is going to continue as it is, which we don't want it to continue as it is, you must move people from that location. Change them from that particular department. If you stay there every day, you're seeing blood, you're killing people, all kinds of criminality like I spoke about, psychologically you will not be fit again. All you're thinking about is once somebody is alleged to have committed, you're willing to just beat the person, brutalize the person, unduly detain the person, keep the person away from his family members, no phone call, people are looking for their relatives, and then the person then becomes immune to conscience and even pains and doing the right thing as the law says. So it's not just changing the name. The first thing I would like to say is not just changing the name. It is a total overhaul. I don't believe, and I'm one of those that doesn't believe that the whole of the police force, everybody's bad.
I don't believe that.
Yes, the same way in the whole of Nigeria, there are good and bad people.
Yeah.
We can see
But
the
then
good
the bad
and the
eggs
bad.
are doing so much damage.
Yes,
that we
the
can't
bad
even
eggs
see
are the
good
ones that
anymore.
the police allows us to see. I keep asking, where are the good police officers? Why can't we meet the good police officers on the streets? It is an image-making thing. It's a PR thing now. Why can't we see them on the streets? Why are we seeing the wrong ones? Why are we seeing the SARS that are willing to chase you and shoot you at whatever point? So it's a lot of things that have to be done.
Then ensuring that SWAT, that's the name. It's not like a reputation of SARS.
That's what I'm saying. It can't, and it's not. It's going to take a total decision. We're seeing the judicial panels being set up by the states, fine and good. That might remedy and help some of the victims to begin to heal, because you can't forget, it's a family member you've lost, or either you have lost a body part or what have you. But to begin to heal, but without any waste of time, now that the Police Service Commission is also doing recruitments, we've seen several recruitments in recent years since this government came in, it is time to also overhaul totally. What do you need in the police force? What kind of police force do you need? The police now has a new act that is saying contrary to what is happening on the streets.
Very contrary.
So it is time for the Police Act to be implemented. And I would like to suggest also that it's not only the police that will do this. Citizens should be coming in, donors, agencies. One of the things we have seen in the law is also funding for the police.
Yeah.
And the law has also suggested that funding should come in from different sources, not only government. The development sector, the donors, the INGOs, the UNs are always willing.
Goodwill.
Citizens' goodwill. Sometimes you even see
Yeah.
one component in the Police Act that we've seen also is community policing.
Yeah.
Nigerians have to also support. If you have information, you heard that something is about to happen, it's our duty to inform them. They can't be everywhere.
Yeah, but then it's important that the police force build that trust with the public.
Definitely.
So that relationship with public has to be looked into. I don't know how they are going to be able to, come out with their good face and begin to earn the trust of the public. So how can we even achieve that, gaining the trust of our police officer, because the damage has been terrible.
That is something that the police has to do. It's not for the citizens to do.
Definitely. That's why I said, of course, we're addressing both citizens and officers. So what should officers do to, improve on the public relations?
Let us begin to see what citizens are requesting for. Let us see.
Demands are there.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Let us begin to see from the police what citizens are requesting for. So, for instance, minimal brutality, at least for a certain point, and then total elimination of brutality.
Definitely.
Let us begin to see civilized police officers on the streets. So, for instance, if the government of Nigeria is telling us, like the National Assembly said, that the 2021 budget will try to, I'm sure, compensate victims, but I'm sure they will try to also improve allocation to the police force. If we see allocation, let us stop seeing people begging us and forcing us to give them money on the streets. If, for instance, after a period of 2-3 months, Nigerians begin to say, wow, something is going on in the police. No, they're not asking you. They're just saying, let us search you. Yes, we have seen this. And then ensure that you are searching based on reasonable suspicion. That's what the law allows.
And when it comes to searching, what limits? What do they have? What is the limit that a policeman can they search, like your car particulars, or search your laptop or your phone? What are they supposed to even search? When you say a policeman on the streets, what power do they have to check? To what extent do they have to check you?
You know, the thing about crime is that it can be anything. So if you limit and tell the police officer to only search maybe this section of your car, maybe the particular thing they're looking for is in another section of the car.
But can they search your particulars for, let's say, can they ask?
Yes, you could be that it's a stolen car.
When there's no reports of a stolen car in that environment.
But what if there is?
Does the law make provision for that? I want to know.
The law does not say specific
report about the police does not have the right to check your particulars, blah, 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 and all of that. So Does the law make provision for a police officer to check your car
Yes,
at any given time?
Yes, the law even says that searching a person and searching a vehicle, meaning the police has the right to search a vehicle. Whether they are to search your particulars is a different discussion. It has not stated whether they can search particulars, but it has said definitely that you can search a vehicle. And in the process of it, I'm sure you'll see other particulars in the person's vehicle. What I'm trying to get at is that let us not begin to narrow and say the police should only search this, because atrocities can happen and suspects can carry out all kinds of activities. The problem with the policing that we see in Nigeria is when you begin to move away from the actual things you're supposed to do. Tell me what you are searching me for. The law even goes further and says, if you tell me what you're searching for and I've responded and there is no reasonable suspicion, the search cannot even take place. So if you open the law itself, and like you said, I can help out with maybe periodically send some information on what the law is talking about, just to help citizens to also know their rights and to see that you know your rights. But I always advise citizens, when you are in a face of trouble, just obey.
Don't drop your rights.
Just obey. Because we might not see you again to be able to protect that right. So make sure you're first safe before you begin to do all the I want to show you my rights.
Very true, very true. So we need to also be in our best behaviors when we come, especially to the brutal ones, but we are hoping that has come to an end. With all the weeks of protest and people dying, even asking for the right things to be done, I don't think we should have another incident of police brutality. I am hoping so.
We hope so. And
thank you so much, Mrs. Maigari.
Maigari.
They sound so alike. Thank you for everyone joining us. I'm grateful. There are some questions or feedback from Robert Maigari that related to it too. So it's okay. Overstayed their welcome and should always.
Sylvester.
Okay, it's from Sylvester. Okay, from Sylvester, but there's still a Maigari in that Sylvester. Okay. Robert Maigari, Sorosoke overstayed their welcome and should always present their issue and give timelines for government to act on results of their overcry has presented itself as we are seeing. Sorosoke, the protest overstayed.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. So it now led to violence.
Some of the violence
we saw.
Yeah, I'm one of those. I would respond to you. I'm one of those that would say that protests can have much. The only bit of the protest that we're seeing,
as long as it's peaceful.
As long as it's peaceful, that's what I mean.
But unfortunately, it was hijacked.
Yes, I don't think it was hijacked. Let's not get it wrong. It wasn't hijacked. It's just that hoodlums are doing something else. The Sorosoke protest is still valid. No, they didn't hijack that protest. The hoodlums are doing a wrong thing. The Sorosoke protest
was aimed at distorting or disturbing or bringing an end to whatever people that was happening. So that's why people will say hijack, so to say. But I pretty much understand your point.
So that we don't get it confused and think that other people, hoodlums, have hijacked the protest itself. The protesters have decided to hold on for now for the purpose of what's going on, and then because of the curfews, and then to respect what government has said. That's
definitely. Thank you so much. We've talked extensively on SARS and SWAT, ensuring that it's not a reputation of SARS, and that they are able to clean the system holistically when it comes to recruitment and retraining, and ensure that it's not same people that are in SARS that are moving to SWAT and all of that. Thank you so much. We are going to read another part of the law. We are rounding off gradually, but let's just read another part of the law and address that, and we'll come to the close of our discussion. But it's going to be a continuous engagement. We'll do short posts, short videos, just to create that kind of awareness, and also be able to hold whoever needs to implement this law. We need to hold them accountable and ensure that this law comes to be. I see a lot of comments and discussions and questions, but we might not be able to address them now. But like I said, it's going to be a continuous engagement on ensuring that this reformation, really comes to be, because the efforts of this we cannot just go like that. We have to ensure that our demands are heard and they are being attended to. So subsection 2 states that a police officer, subject to the provisions of the relevant criminal procedure laws in force at the federal or state level, may proceed. Okay, you've addressed that let's talk a bit on community policing. That for effective and efficient policing of communities across the country, the Act states that the Commissioner of Police of a state shall establish a committee consisting of representatives of the police force and the local community in the state. It lists the duties of community officers to include assisting the police in crime detection and prevention, conflict resolution, criminal intelligence, gathering and dissemination to local police commanders, maintenance of law and order, dealing with minor offenses and social vices, traffic management, and school safety duties, among others. This section provides for the judicious use of all funds accruing to the police force. Explain.
It's like jam question.
This is like jam question, but it pretty much talk about community policing,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
different people what they will
Yes.
be doing at the community level, which is also very key. So how do we ensure that this thing is done peacefully or is implemented in a way that is effective in ensuring security in communities?
I think we already have the police. I can't remember the acronym, but there's already a police community relations committee or something,
Okay.
PCRC, thereabouts, right now in different states, depending on which either division or the CP, so long as they want to implement it. There is already a current relationship building that goes on with the police and community members. However, what the law has tried to do is to move this from just a policy or a directive by one IG and submerged it into the act, so that now police force, in particular the CPs, the commissioners of police across the states, would have to implement it. What the police is trying to do is to ensure that citizens are part of the law and order process.
Okay.
Citizens should do the informing. If you know, like I said, early warnings, you should be part of it. Citizens should come in and sit down and say, okay, they said that they have given this division 1 million naira. How much? That's what I painted before. How much has been given? How much is supposed to be used for A and B and C? And then how much do we have? In a lot of instances, and I see Nigerians, we're very jovial and nice people.
Yeah.
If a particular division is given 1 million and their budget is supposed to be 10 million, all they were allocated was 1 million. I know Nigerians, the community can decide, okay, don't worry, we'll be giving you 10,000 naira for this particular team. The community can decide, they can even fund. Do you understand? But the idea is, while they are also funding and government money is coming in, the police must be accountable for it.
That is definite.
To the last kobo. Because once there's that lack of accountability, the trust goes away again.
We go back
to where we're coming
from.
So what the Act has tried to do is to bring the practice that is going on in piecemeal into a law, so that the police across the country can begin to implement that. And if people are called upon, it needs to be at that community level. Let people participate in the whole process, so that at the end of the day, we'll have a better police force and a better Nigerian society for us to exist in.
And everyone has a role to play. Thank you so much, Mrs. Maigari, Ms. Maigari. Oh God, the names sound very familiar and interesting too. So Martin White-Ufa says SWAT and SARS are the same thing. My guests very much address that and how we can ensure that they are not the same thing. We have looked at the law quite extensively today, but there's still a whole lot more to look at. But we have looked at the issues of transparency in our police force. We've looked at the issue of proper management of funds, and we looked at the issue of recruitment, training and retraining of our police force. We've looked at enhancing public police relationship. We've looked at prosecution, who prosecutes, who arrests, how should things be done properly. We've looked at putting a good police face on the road. We shouldn't go there and be seeing the drunk ones on the road. We should go and see some well-meaning policemen on the road, and that's how to build the police image, trust, and also improve on that slogan that says police is your friend. We need to ensure that this becomes a reality. That you can see a police officer and do high five,
and then you shake,
and then things happen peacefully, and then that relationship is also important to minimizing crime in our society. So we need to keep building the right relationship. And then what again did we address? SARS and SWAT, making sure that they are not the same, and then some sections of the law we looked into. But finally, implementation. How do we ensure that these laws that have been made are implemented, and Nigerians can see that the Nigerian force have really been reformed. Officers act differently. How do we ensure that? How can we hold our leaders or stakeholders, relevant bodies? I know there are CSOs who engage directly, with those, our agencies and all of that. How can we ensure more engagement with citizens? Like, I look forward to having like a town hall meeting. What BBC Media does,
Yes.
a town hall
Yes.
meeting every other time with our officers, addressing these issues every now and then until we build that police force that we want to see. So directly, maybe just in closing, one or two things that we should see happening from our government, from the people, to ensure that this reformation happens and the law that have been put in place is acted upon.
I think it needs to be implemented at different levels.
Okay.
There's no one straight jacket approach.
Okay.
You would see that implementation has to be done at the strategic level, meaning the IG, the deputy IGs, the AIGs, and the CPs. But there's also implementation that has to be done at the lower level, community level, at the division, police post, at all levels. But that's one bit. The other bit is also implementation within the communities, right? So we want different things to happen. We might not be able to get it if we don't participate in the process, and the police has to bring us on board on how do we get this to be implemented. Another way is ensuring discipline. The Police Service Commission has the power of appointment, recruitment, promotion, and discipline. A lot of times we have seen the Police Service Commission doing appointment and promotion. We rarely see the disciplinary part. So it is within the act again. Now it's not any law that is forcing anybody. By the way, the Police Service Commission has a constitutional power to reprimand, to promote, and to appoint
Officers.
We need that discipline to begin to take place. That is the only time we can trust that implementation is taking place with respect to discipline. We need to begin to see, if you say that the Act has established a fund for the police to take care of everything in the police force. There is another law which I was talking to you off air, the Police Trust Fund. Is another act again that was passed by the Nigerian government last year, 2019, that addresses just fund for equipment and training and retraining. If all these monies are in place, we need to see it being allocated, one, but we also need to see it judiciously. That is, spend it as you said you will spend it, not spend it for something else. Outside from that, we need to begin to see proper police dressing. Do you understand? You don't come here and then you're not properly dressed. You're in an attire that is, I'm already afraid while I'm seeing you. You're a police officer. If it is that you have something wrong with your eye or the sun is too much, I can understand. But I'm not seeing who you are, and you're complaining that my hair is dreads, I have dreads, at least I'm a woman, they won't say I'm not supposed to have dreads, And the funny thing is that the Police Act has talked about discrimination. Definitely. It has said that nobody should be profiled because they have a hairstyle or because they wear any type of dressing.
The new one or the
new act. The new act has acknowledged that. The old one wasn't acknowledged. Didn't take note of that. But the new one has taken cognizance of the problems we're having in the Nigerian society. We need to begin to see that people are not harassed because their hair looks like this or because somebody is holding a computer. Anybody can hold a computer. Do you understand? So the implementation has to be done in different ways. But I also challenge either citizens or civil society, or as people are doing now through protests. If anything happens based on this law, let us challenge the system and take up a case against a police officer before the courts. Let us see whether the courts will be able to interpret to say, okay, a police officer has gone contrary to this and this and this provision. Then we'll begin to see implementation. But if you don't present it before the courts cannot make judgments.
As in, citizens can take the officer to
court.
You can. We shouldn't wait for the police force to carry out whatever discipline.
Normally, the process that can happen is, if you have a problem, you report either to the police or preferably the Police Service Commission. Because the Police Service Commission is supposed to have the powers of discipline. But like I said, we're not seeing it. So if, for instance, I feel that you amputated my hand in the course of investigation, right, and I've lost an arm, I can take the matter to court and challenge you for the loss of my arm based on my rights, and I feel that it's a crime with what you committed. especially if I've gone through the police force and nothing has happened.
Because
Through the Police Service Commission and nothing has happened.
There are several cases
What
like that.
stops me from trying that process before the court? And let us hear the court tell us, no, we don't have powers to handle any case that you're bringing before the police. Go back to the Police Service Commission. If the court is going to tell us that, then we'll now know that we'll have to wait for the Police Service Commission to change.
Long court process or even the money.
I understand,
to
right?
Engage a lawyer, those kind of things. So we need to ensure that the process is good.
I am only saying this after it has not happened, right? I'm just saying if peradventure something happens and your right is violated as against what is contained in the law, and you feel basically the rights of Nigerians have been violated, that is why the protest is ongoing.
Yeah, definitely.
People have died. People have been amputated. People are no more psychologically fit. People are afraid once they see police people on the streets. Not only police, sometimes it's the other security agencies, so that we don't make it look as if it's only the Nigerian police force that is doing this. So we need to begin to see those things, and then we'll be able to say that yes, implementation is taking place. If not, it's just one of those laws in the books, and that's the end of it. And then we challenge the government based on what you're saying. Ensure that you're doing exactly what you're saying, not just to shove people around and say at the end of the day people will forget and would go back. I have a feeling that this is not gonna be game as usual, because people are really angry, and people are venting. And for us to have a safe society and a democratic process and a democratic governance as desired by the Constitution, the government needs to live up to its expectations. Because the primary purpose of governance in our Constitution is security and welfare of the people. And we're not seeing it.
We're not seeing it. Thank you so much, Mrs.
Maigari.
Thank you so much, everyone who joined our discussion today. We are going to round up this discussion. There's so much to talk about. There's so much we have talked about already, but there's still much more we need to, address. Awareness is the starting place for me. You need to know what is available in the law for you, and that is how we can ensure that it is implemented, and we can hold whoever is responsible to ensure that that law, it's abide by, play their role in ensuring that we have a peaceful and more safe society for each and every one of us. Thank you for joining. I can't see everyone's name, but I see some of the comments. Let's just read this before we close. And it's from Afibasi. I don't think the Rosoke overstayed. I think to be active now, even more than ever, what has been done here has sparked up a conversation in other African countries. Is addressing police brutality. It didn't overstay at all. Even though we are not on the street again, we are still, speaking about it every day, using our social media platforms and all of that. So
I wanted to, sorry, before we conclude, I wanted to say that I started talking, but I went into other things. I don't think a protest can ever overstay, because the purpose for which you're protesting for, if it's not achieved, you have a right to continue to protest. It can be online now that we have technology. People are protesting. Sudan, women protested, and then there was a change of government. I think it is one of these other Eastern European countries. I can't remember which one of them. The president has also been ousted based on protests. There's one that has just happened now last week, and there has been a change also in governance, and things have improved. So there's nothing like you are overstaying a protest. The demands you want, if they are not met, you have a right to continue to protest. By the way, the right to protest is a constitutional right, freedom of assembly. So long as you are not violating any law and you're peaceful, you have a right to continue your protest.
Very true, we have the right to protest, but when a protest becomes violence because of some notorious, people who have hijacked it, it's good that we withdraw and then re-strategize. And that is what Nigerians are doing right now. We are re-strategizing. We are forming groups. The young ones are forming groups, and people are coming up on social media every day to advocate and campaign for the right things to be done. So this is just the beginning, of building the Nigeria of our dream. The narrative is that we are birthing a new Nigeria, and all hands are on deck. Thank you so much, my viewers. This beautiful, very informative, engaging discussion is about to round off. I don't feel like letting you go. Okay, so this is going to be ongoing, and thank God my guest is nice enough to keep hanging on Peace Talk with Mercy to educate us and create more awareness. This is where it begins from. If you don't know, ignorance, they say, is not an excuse. So we need to know where the informations are, get them, and engage. After saying that, Nigerians, please stay safe. Let's continue to sorosuke on our social media platforms, and also in our own little ways, do the right things and contribute to making Nigeria better. So we normally do like a peace sign.
Okay, peace.
Peace, guys. Peace, Nigerians. Let's give peace a chance. Let's continue, to engage for a more peaceful and better Nigeria. What we discussed today, I'm going to try to highlight it more, and then of course she is kind enough to continue to give us all the information we need to know concerning our rights as citizens, and then how we can improve our relationship with our officers. That is it for Peace Talk with Mercy today. Thank you everyone for joining. See you again on Monday, and if possible, if there's anything we need to address, we'll come up before Monday. But before then, our official chat days are Mondays. Continue to live in peace with yourself, with those around you, and in our communities, in our nation, and worldwide. We are first humans before any tribe, before any language, before any religion. We are all human beings, and we should be united in peace and in love. All right, guys, peace out. Bye-bye. See you again next time. Thank you again.
Bye.
This is Maigari.
Thank you so much for listening.
I really enjoyed your discussion, and I learned so much. We are going to keep bringing you up, and we'll get there.
No problem.
We'll see the Nigeria of our dreams.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, bye, guys.